Right.
See, and that united the Hindus up. Because see, what they said was, what has been going on for thousands of years, how could it be abhorrent and dirty?
Absolutely.
See, all those Indian leaders or the celebrities who die, they always have an open funeral pyre.
Absolutely.
And the Queen is represented there.
Well,
So how could that be abhorrent?
Well, Mr. Davender Ghai, let me say you are an unusual guest I have on the News Hour tonight. I'm so glad I have you on the show. I want to just say once again, my guest on the News Hour tonight, who deserves to be congratulated, is the 71-year-old Davender Ghai, who in a landmark judgment that he has fought on his own in Britain's Court of Appeal has won the right to be cremated after his death in an open-air funeral pyre as per Hindu religion. Mr. Davender Ghai, once again, congratulations and keep up the fighting spirit. Congratulations and thank you for joining me on the News Hour this evening.
A British Court of Appeal has ruled that Hindus here can perform last rites in open-air funeral pyres. This is a personal victory for 71-year-old Davender Ghai from Newcastle, who fought a 4-year-long legal battle so that he could be given a traditional Hindu send-off.
I'm 20 years younger. Not only that, now if I go tomorrow, I'll go peacefully. Because I know, see, these are all my team, they will give me a good send-off.
The law on cremation in the UK provides for cremations within a crematoria or a designated building. The British government's stand was that a building is understood to be a closed vault and roof structure, not conducive to funeral pyres. Davender Ghai's team argued otherwise.
The ruling was based on the simple definition of the term building under the 1902 Cremation Act. Mr. Ghai has contended that he is happy to conduct open pyre funerals in structures without a roof or even without walls, which could still be described as a building.
The Newcastle City Council, which has so far blocked Ghai's attempt to establish a site for open pyres, says that the ruling does not take into account planning and public health legislation. Ghai may have won his religious freedom in court, but he'll still have to face health and environmental roadblocks. With Akansha Banerjee in London, in New Delhi, Akansha Pradeep.
71-year-old Davender Ghai, who describes himself as a devout Hindu spiritual healer, says he can now die a peaceful death, knowing that his send-off will be according to his religious beliefs. He has been fighting for the right to be cremated on an open-air funeral pyre. The Court of Appeal today allowed cremations on funeral pyres in Britain with the caveat that they be held in a structure with walls and a roof with an opening and not an open field.
The mother wanted me to give him an open funeral pyre as it's done in India for the release of his soul. I went to the city council and they refused. They said no, it's unlawful. Okay, now judge says it's not unlawful because see, in the crematorium, it's a building. Building can consist of so many things. A building has a restaurant, a building has a this, and the city council could have accommodated me there. Now see, they give the land to the Muslims in the crematorium. They give the land to the Jewish people in the crematorium. That's what I asked for.
Ghai was refused a permit for a cremation site in a remote part of Northumberland in northern England in 2006. The Newcastle City Council had said the burning of human remains anywhere outside a crematorium was prohibited under the 1902 Cremation Act. With Swati Maheshwari in the UK, Ambika Verma, NDTV.
ਖਬਰਾਂ ਵਿਸਤਾਰ ਨਾਲ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੇ ਭਾਰਤੀ ਹੁਣ ਖੁੱਲੀ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਆਪਣਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਅੰਤਿਮ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਣਗੇ। ਇਸ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਦੀ ਕਾਨੂੰਨੀ ਲੜਾਈ ਇੱਕ ਭਾਰਤੀ ਮੂਲ ਦੇ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਦਵਿੰਦਰ ਘਈ ਨੇ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਰਟ ਆਫ ਅਪੀਲ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਜਿੱਤ ਲਈ ਹੈ।
ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ 'ਚ ਵਸਦੇ ਭਾਰਤੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਭਾਰਤੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਖੁੱਲੇ 'ਚ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ ਦੇ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ। ਜ਼ਿਕਰਯੋਗ ਹੈ ਕਿ 1902 ਦੇ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਐਕਟ ਦੇ ਤਹਿਤ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਵਿੱਚ ਖੁੱਲੀਆਂ ਥਾਵਾਂ ਤੇ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਗੈਰ ਕਾਨੂੰਨੀ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦਾ ਤਰਕ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਖੁੱਲੀਆਂ ਥਾਵਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਪ੍ਰਦੂਸ਼ਣ ਫੈਲਾਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਧਿਆਨ ਦੇਣ ਯੋਗ ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਹਿੰਦੂਆਂ ਤੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਅਗਨੀ ਨਾਲ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਭਾਰਤੀ ਮੂਲ ਦੇ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਵਾਸੀ ਦਵਿੰਦਰ ਘਈ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਅਧਿਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣਾ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਅਧਿਕਾਰ ਮੰਨਦਿਆਂ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਜਾਰੀ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਤੇ 2009 ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਹਾਈ ਕੋਰਟ ਤੋਂ ਹਾਰਨ ਦੇ ਬਾਵਜੂਦ ਘਈ ਨੇ ਕਾਨੂੰਨੀ ਲੜਾਈ ਜਾਰੀ ਰੱਖੀ। ਹੇਠਲੀ ਅਦਾਲਤ ਤੋਂ ਹਾਰਨ ਉਪਰੰਤ ਦਵਿੰਦਰ ਘਈ ਨੇ ਅਖੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਦੇ ਅਪੀਲ ਕੋਰਟ 'ਚ ਕੇਸ ਲੜਿਆ ਅਤੇ ਜਿੱਤ ਹਾਸਲ ਕੀਤੀ। ਦਵਿੰਦਰ ਘਈ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅਦਾਲਤ ਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਤਰਕ ਦਿੱਤੇ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਧਰਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਜ਼ਾਰਾਂ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਅਗਨੀ ਭੇਂਟ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਤਰਕ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਧਰਮ 'ਚ ਹਜ਼ਾਰਾਂ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਰਿਵਾਜ ਚੱਲਿਆ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਭਾਰਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਇਸੇ ਵਿਧੀ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ 'ਚ ਮਿਲੀ ਇਸ ਜਿੱਤ ਤੇ ਭਾਰਤ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਖਰ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ।
ਸਾਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਤਮ ਸਰਵੋਤਮ ਵਿਧੀ ਦਾਹ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਦੀ ਦੱਸੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਦਵਿੰਦਰ ਕੁਮਾਰ ਜੀ ਘਈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਹਾਈ ਕੋਰਟ ਤੋਂ ਕੇਸ ਜਿੱਤ ਕੇ ਲੰਡਨ ਚੋਂ ਹਾਈ ਕੋਰਟ ਤੋਂ ਕੇਸ ਜਿੱਤ ਕੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਸਮਾਜ ਹੈ, ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਮਾਜ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਦਾਹ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵਿਧੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮਾਣ ਵਧਾਇਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਵਾ।
ਅਗਰ ਇਹ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਸੰਸਕ੍ਰਿਤੀ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਯੂਕੇ ਵਰਗੀ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਦਵਿੰਦਰ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਕੇਸ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਜਾ ਕੇ ਫਤਿਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹਾਸਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ, ਸ਼ਲਾਘਾਯੋਗ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਇਹਦੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੂਰੀ ਤਾਰੀਫ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਔਰ ਐਸੀ ਸੰਸਕ੍ਰਿਤੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਰੇ ਵਰਲਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦੀ ਰਵੇ, ਇਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਇੱਕ ਕਾਮਨਾ ਵੀ ਹੈ।
ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮੰਗ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਦਵਿੰਦਰ ਘਈ ਨੂੰ ਭਾਰਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੁਲਾ ਕੇ ਸਨਮਾਨਿਤ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ। ਨਿਊ ਡੈਸਕ ਤੋਂ ਸੰਦੀਪ ਮਿਸ਼ਰਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਜੇਸ਼ ਇੰਦਰਪਾਲ, PTC ਨਿਊਜ਼।
70-year-old Davender Ghai is a devout Hindu. He's come to the High Court in London, fighting for the right to be cremated, in a ritual that is routine in some countries but highly controversial here.
They think it's illegal. I don't think it's illegal. And that's why we have come to review them, because the law isn't very clear on that.
This is how Ghai would like to depart this world, in an open-air Hindu cremation ceremony that Hindus consider essential to the peace of the soul. But under British laws, cremations must take place in crematoria, and open-air corpse burning is not allowed. In 2006, Newcastle City Council turned down Ghai's application for a permit to hold an open-air cremation and ruled funeral pyres illegal. However, authorities turned a blind eye when he went ahead with a funeral pyre ceremony for a 31-year-old Indian man in the countryside. He was never prosecuted. Ghai is a world-renowned advocate of Anglo Asian relations, whose works have been honoured by UNESCO and Amnesty International. Now, backed by strong support from Hindu organisations, Ghai is demanding the High Court clarify its position on open funeral pyres.
My generation, they want it. They want it very badly. They want to give us a land away from the city in a discreet place, where we can perform our own ceremony.
Opponents of the practice say it is unsanitary, hazardous to health and the environment. Calculations based on UN estimates of mortality rates suggest that in India alone 50 million trees are cut down each year to create funeral pyres, generating more than 8 million tonnes of carbon dioxide.
It is correct to say that the pollution from one of these pyres is significant. The combustion is not controlled in the same way as in a crematorium. There's no proper mitigation of the emissions, there's no chimney.
However, when it comes to carbon dioxide, the main greenhouse gas, the Indian pyres may actually be more environmentally friendly than crematoria.
Because they don't use fossil fuels, they use only renewable fuels, wood.
There's an economic advantage too. Many British Hindus still prefer the traditional funeral pyre ritual and choose to ship bodies to India for a proper ceremony, which can cost up to $5,000.
We will do it between 500 and 1,000. People are saving their money there as well.
The latest statement from the British Ministry of Defence firmly states, "There are inevitably competing views on the appropriate arrangements for disposing of bodies stemming from different views about religion, morals and decency. There's no plan to change the law on cremation." Ghai hopes he can convince the judge to see the importance of funeral pyres for Hindus before it's too late.
I'm a sick man. When I die, I want it.
Andrew Carey, CNN London.
The London High Court is currently reviewing a law that prohibits open-air funeral pyres. If it allows open-air pyres, then the 1.5 million British Hindus in the UK will have a choice of conducting their last rites in the open instead of in indoor public crematoriums. For the claimant, 70-year-old Davender Kumar Ghai from Newcastle, this is now a matter of life and death, quite literally.
That's my religious right, and secondly, that's my birthright. See, and if I die, I want to have an open funeral pyre, and that's why, I thought I better clear that up with them. Because I want my son to light my pyre. I don't want the gas flame to light me.
In 2006, the Newcastle City Council blocked Ghai's attempt to establish a site for open funeral pyres. It said that all cremations apart from the ones at public crematoriums were banned under the 1902 Cremation Act. In 1930, new regulations were introduced, but open-air cremations were still illegal. Ghai's legal team says that the law is incompatible with the European Convention on Human Rights.
The case has been brought on the basis of Article 9 of the European Convention of Human Rights, which safeguards the right to religious freedom. And what we're saying is that the right to a open-air cremation is a manifestation of a religious belief.
Hindu groups say the choice of open-air funeral pyres should be available to people like Ghai.
We believe, Hindus believe, that in order to pass this body on to the next world, it's important that the proper karma or the kriya is done.
Devout Hindus in Britain who want open pyre cremations have been flying their deceased relatives back to India to hold the ceremony according to Hindu rites. The government here says that these are impractical and possibly illegal, but Hindus like Davender Ghai insist that these are essential. The hearing continues. In London, this is Akanksha Banerjee.
This week, a Hindu man's battle to be cremated in the open air reaches the Royal Courts of Justice. Davender Ghai is challenging Newcastle City Council, which has denied him the right to be burnt outdoors. His lawyers are expected to argue that traditional Hindu cremations fall outside of the 1902 Cremation Act, which regulates what happens inside crematoriums. Davender Ghai has already tested the law by organising the first open funeral pyre in Britain since 1934. In July 2006, he presided over the cremation of Rajpat Mihat in a Northumberland field. The 31-year-old Indian immigrant's body was found in a canal in Southall and was, according to Mr Ghai, too decomposed to be flown to India. Afterward, Newcastle City Council ruled the cremation was illegal and the Crown Prosecution Service became involved. They decided an offence had been committed, but a prosecution was not in the public's interest. In March 2007, Sir Justice Andrew Collins gave permission for Davender Ghai's lawyers to bring a judicial review forward. He ruled a hearing in the High Court was in the public interest. The campaign has caused controversy in the British Asian community. Some prominent Hindu organisations, such as the Hindu Academy, have described it as an outdated and unnecessary. Others, such as the Hindu Council UK, have come to support the right of Mr Ghai and his followers to be cremated as they wish. But a big source of controversy has been Mr Ghai's original claim to have support from members of the Sikh community. This has led to the collection of thousands of signatures from Sikhs who are angry that Mr Ghai wishes to associate them with his campaign.
The fact that he went around canvassing support from the Sikh community, including people from India, and then sort of like presenting that as if it was a fait accompli, that the Sikh community as a whole totally supported his need as if it was the same, that was what was objectionable and offensive. He may have changed his tone now, but nevertheless the damage has been done because he's caused a division within the Sikh community.
The case is due to be heard at the Royal Courts of Justice for 3 days. It's already been delayed for many months. It's likely Mr Ghai will instruct his lawyers to try and take the case to a higher court if his bid fails. As the case proceeds, many of Britain's estimated 560,000 Hindus will be watching events, along with 35,000 Sikhs who signed the petition against it. This is Sabrina Radmore for Sunrise TV News.
There you go then. Because we know a survey has actually been conducted where, at least 1 million individuals, Hindus and Sikhs, were actually they would rather opt for an open air cremation. Yes. And we know that an open air cremation is much cheaper.
An elderly man fighting for the right to have an open-air funeral pyre on his death is heading for London today to mount a legal challenge. Davender Ghai is contesting Newcastle City Council's refusal to allow a designated site for natural cremations. Shiruna Saga has been talking to him ahead of the start of a judicial review.
This is the temple at the headquarters of the Anglo Asian Friendship Society in Newcastle, and the members here are getting ready to go down to London for a judicial review. Now, Mr. Ghai, it's been 3 years since you held a secret open-air funeral pyre in Northumberland, and it was secret because Newcastle City Council said it was illegal.
Yeah.
Now, tomorrow you're going to challenge that decision, aren't you?
Yeah.
Why is it so important for you to take your fight to London?
Because I want to be very clear on the law, because we think it's not illegal. Because one, it was banned in 1930, and there was a princess from Nepal who died here, and she was given the open funeral pyre. So if she was given the open funeral pyre, it's not illegal, one. And secondly, you see, there was a man who burnt his mother in the backyard, and when he went to the High Court, he was charged for fraud, but not for burning the body, because the judge said burning the body isn't illegal.
Some people might say it's a little barbaric. Why is it so important to you to have an open-air funeral pyre?
Because it's our religion, the holy books. Even our Pope says that we should have the open funeral pyre, because we can't do the things which we can do it only in the open, not in the chapel. So that's why it's very important for us.
So you believe that you should be able to die by your faith as well as live by your faith?
I live by my faith and die by faith. And that's what I'm going to tell the other people. Live and let the others live.
Okay, well, tomorrow you have your day in court at the High Court, and you're going to put forward your case.
Yeah.
How optimistic are you?
Very optimistic. So are my lawyers.
Okay, well, we'll be bringing you more on this story tonight in Look North at 6:30.
An elderly man who's fighting for the right to be cremated in an open-air funeral pyre has left the northeast for London to mount a legal challenge. 17